Franklin County Commissioners meeting, April 16th, 2019.
Good morning. It is 9 a.m. We're here for our regular Tuesday, April 16th meeting, and we have the full bench, Commissioner Peck, Commissioner Ditter, and Bob Cook, our administrator and our clerk. And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, our first order of business this morning is public comment, and I see we have some guests here this morning, so we kind of worked right into your what you brought to us. Somebody going to speak to us?
This is actually on the agenda.
Yeah, on the consent.
Item 4 on your consent agenda.
Well, I thought they wanted to do a presentation, and that doesn't come during the consent. So.
If you can answer any questions, I'm the victim of this coordinator at the prosecutor's office, and I've been trying to get something like this for the victims.
Can we get you to come to the shirt?
You can either sit or okay. Do I need to start over?
Please.
Okay, so I'm the victim witness coordinator for the prosecutor's office, Tina Carmona. Been working there for about 20 years, and really expensive to get a courtroom dog to be able to bring the dogs into the courtroom. So victims have a difficult time, especially kid victims, even adults have a difficult time when they're dealing with stressful situations, and these dogs are amazing. This morning, I think, did you give them the information from Jody Garrettson from SART?
Yes.
It's on our desk here, yeah.
And so I just asked her to, because they've used the dogs in their summer camp, and I just wanted to give you guys kind of an idea of first-hand testimony on what these dogs can do. They are really good at, you can see they're really calm, but if kids are playing and stuff, they do interact with the kids as well. They're specially trained. So this is an owner. We do like lifetime training. I have my own dog. I didn't bring him with, but I can't bring him to work. But they're specially trained, and they train for a lifetime. We go to all different, we go to the library and read with the kids, go to senior citizen centers, go to events, and adults, kids, everybody just absolutely loves them. And it just brings kids that are afraid to read will read to a dog before they'll read in front of their parents. And we're just hoping that there'll be kind of just something for the victims to be able to relax a little bit when they come to meetings, or they won't be in the courtroom, but they'll be available right outside the courtroom or in our office. So that way, before it helps with the anxiety, and after giving their testimony or going into an interview, they'll be there.
I'm sure they aren't here all the time, so how do you pick and choose and decide when you'll use them? Right,
so we would ask when we're setting up interviews, we would ask the victims or the parents or whatever if they would be interested in it.
Okay.
Make sure there's no allergies or anything like that, or if a child is afraid of dogs, obviously we would use them. But if they show an interest, then because I'm part of the GO team as well, I would send out a message and say, is anybody available at this time on this date? And then we'd arrange it that way.
All right. Questions, gentlemen?
I noticed those are of the pit bull breed.
These two are, yeah.
Yes, and I think the pit bull breed has got a bad rap because of the fact that they're not vicious dogs unless they're trained to be that way.
Right.
We have one too. Mm-hmm. As a farmer on Glade Road, we have 3 dogs that were strays, or not strays, people drop them off.
Right.
And so the pit bull that we have was shot through the back too.
Oh.
And it took her a long time before she'd even let us pet her. So
yeah.
Her name's
It's
Roxy.
an interesting story. Do you want to share your story about the airport? Sure. Okay.
So we were going
Would
to the
you
airport.
mind sharing your name?
I'm sorry, Julie Bafus.
Okay.
This is Allie. And on one of our events, we went to the airport, and coming through the security door, there was a group of people, mostly men, I think they were all men, and they were from Lebanon. And they turned around and were gaping at us. And I said, would you like to meet Allie? And, oh, yeah, I was going to follow you around the airport until you let me touch her. And his dream was to touch a pit bull, because in his country, they are dangerous, very dangerous. They're all bred to be attack dogs or fighting dogs. And I said, well, she's certainly not one of those. And so they spent about 15 or 20 minutes just loving on her, and I took plenty of pictures. It was pretty amazing. So,
I hope that we brought that information back to their country.
and that's what I asked them to do too. I said, be sure to share your pictures, because they took pictures, and I said, be sure to share those with everybody you know over there. So, yeah. Allie's a rescue dog. We got her at the shelter, and she was pretty young. She's about 7 months old. And it was always my dream to be in therapy dog work with her. And so here we are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just real quick, who certifies the dogs, and what sort of special training do they have?
So in the handout that I gave you, with the note,
one?
it's a several page.
Oh, okay. We got this morning, and this.
Copies. So this was,
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
I saw this online.
Thanks, Tina.
so there's 4 pages on. And these dogs are, they go all over the country. Let me see. So, bottom of the 3rd page. She is the evaluator. The training is done by the owners, and then the testing is a weekend-long testing process where you're going through different scenarios, real-life scenarios, and not all dogs pass, and not all owners pass. So it just kind of depends on the dog. The dogs might be great, but the owners might not be so great. So both the owner and the dog has to pass. And we had to do things. There's etiquette that has to be done at restaurants, and so that way you can have the dog with you, but it can pass food and not pick it up, drop items and they won't pick it up, because at the nursing homes, a lot of times their chairs might be filled with food, or they might drop medicine or something like that, so the dogs cannot react to that. It could be dangerous for the dogs to get medicine, and they're also taught, like, let's say they reached up and scratched an elderly person, it could be really bad because their skin is so frail. So they're taught 4 paws on the floor at all times. We had to go on a bus. We didn't have any escalators over here. We didn't go into the mall, but that's another one that a lot of the dogs have to pass, is they have to go on an escalator. We have to be in big crowds. So there's a lot of different things. I could have brought the testing that has to be done, but it's a 2-day, pretty intense, all-day, 2-day training that you have to go through, and Nancy is the one that certifies.
Yeah, I did see this in the email. It was good information. It was interesting. I noticed a picture of the Air Force Academy Chapel in the background too, which was nostalgic, pretty neat. But I was trying to get to what organization is it that actually certifies. I see the executive director for the GO team. Is the GO team the organization that certifies?
Right, the GO team, Therapy, Crisis, and Airport Dogs.
Okay, and they've been doing this for many years.
Yeah.
So are you aware of any instances where dogs that have been certified ended up having an issue or a problem with somebody?
You've been with the Go Team longer.
I mean, part of my responsibility is to look at it from a county risk management liability standpoint. You're going to ask us to certify that these dogs can be in the courthouse, that they can be used around small kids. So if I don't ask these questions, then I'm not doing my job.
Yes, understandable.
My name's Carrie Mull, I'm 6 Phoenix, and I'm one of the coordinators for the local Go Team. And the Go Team International it's an international organization that certifies dogs. All the dogs have to go through obedience training and get their good canine citizenship certificate before they can even apply to be a Go Team dog. And then they need a recommendation from a trainer, a certified trainer, in order to even apply to be a Go Team dog. And then they go through the certification through Go Team, and Go Team is recognized by the AKC to certify dogs. And back to your question about have there ever been issues, I'm sure there have. Those dogs are no longer on the team. You know, if there are any issues with dogs, there's just a very serious reconsideration, and they can be let go from the team.
Yeah.
Either from the handler's inappropriate behavior or the dogs. But we haven't had anything here. This team has been in place for 1.5 years in the Tri-Cities.
I can get, if you'd like, I could follow up with Nancy and see, because she'd have to keep statistics on that, and I can follow up.
Yeah, well, you know, risk management is not about eliminating or avoiding all risk. It's about managing risk.
Yeah.
And so my perception is that the risk is pretty small. I just think that if we don't ask these kinds of questions, then we're doing everybody a disservice, because when you ask the questions, it raises sort of the sensitivity to risk management in all things. So, like walking into tree limbs when you're out picking mushrooms over the weekend, looking down instead of up. But I did. Yeah. It was worth it, trust me. A large bag. Anyway, so that's really all I'm getting to. I mean, I'm a dog person. We've had Gordon Setters and Wimes and half a dozen other different breeds, and so I don't have an issue with it. I just think it's something that should be brought up.
So in your 1.5 years, you've been to the Benton County Courthouse?
No.
So this will be the first courthouse that you come in?
Yes.
Where have you been using?
We've been to CDC, the library, the nursing home, several nursing homes, been to the Original Rehab Center, the airport, which is we had to get security clearance to go to the airport to work in the security part of the airport,
Okay.
which is where we work. So, and different events. The Reach Museum. They had a reading program for kids there at the Reach Museum, and the dogs were all there. And we went to the day camp for SARC last year. We're planning to go again this year.
So you've had lots of events and
Yeah.
places that you've been with the Go Dogs, and not a problem at any of them?
No.
Okay.
No. You know, sometimes somebody will step on a dog's foot and you'll get a whoop out of them, that kind of thing. Or, you know, they get scared and they whoop, but no.
Okay. Any further questions?
No.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you very
bringing the
much for your
dogs in
time.
too. That was nice.
Thank you.
Probably, wow. I was going to say probably raise the IQ from the front row forward.
With that, actually, it is still the public comment period. Somebody else want to speak to us today? Seeing none, we'll move on to payroll and warrant registers.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 items for board consideration and possible approval this morning. First is Salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll, move for approval is presented in a total amount of $814,708.34. And note that it's been reviewed and signed by two people in the auditor's office.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have county road and motor vehicle in a total amount of $167,273.67. Move for approval as presented. Again, note this has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And lastly, we have fund expenditures. Move for approval of fund expenditures as presented in a total amount of $2,525,111.58. Note that this has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office as well as a review by the county administrator. I've asked Mr. Johnson if he would speak to a couple of items on here that are larger than usual monetary amounts, each of them being $1 million.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. This could imply by just a cursory reading that we're actually spending $2 million. What it is because we approve these at the fund level, the first $1 million is coming out of one fund into the .09 fund. And so we're only spending $1 million, but it looks like it's two. It's because there's two funds involved. But the $1 million that's going out of the .09 funds is for the City of Pasco's request that we approved in 2017 and 2018 for use of those .09 funds at $500,000 for each request. They are now at a point in their project where that funding was necessary, and so we're just meeting our obligation under the previously established commitment to the City of Pasco for the use of that Economic Development Fund for their water treatment facility that they're.
Just an added note for people who are not familiar, the .09 fund is something that's available to select counties based on their economic status, usually described as rural and distressed counties. And there's 0.09% of the sales tax that the state collects from our citizens gets rebated back for us to use in economic development projects. So that's what the .09 reference is.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, we'll move on to consent agenda. We have 8 items on consent this morning. Entertain a motion.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, move for approval of the consent agenda is presented with some discussion.
I second.
Discussion?
While I look for the reference to the comment that I wanted to ask, or the question, I would defer to Commissioner Didier if he has any questions.
No, not today, I don't.
Okay, then I'll take up mine later. They had to do with the mechanics of package. It was the HAPO Center one, I believe, where it said the maintenance agreement provides a bit of insurance if major items with the messaging center go awry. Okay, so maintenance agreement if equipment fails. But then it goes on to say if this one-year agreement is approved at the expiration, the HAPO Center will not be able to sign another due to the inability of the company to get replacement parts. So for the masters in comm, I can't figure out what that means. So Keith, if we could maybe afterward have a chat about those. There's a couple of others I'll share with you as well. It is my 10-year quest to get more attention to detail on how we word these, because these become public records. People have to be able to understand what exactly it is we're doing. So that was it, Mr. Chairman.
So did you want to pull that for now until we get more information?
No, I read through these again last night, and there wasn't anything in terms of the actions that were being requested that I thought justified withholding it. It's just that it's not unlike the previous ones I pointed out where it'll say there's no economic impact even though we're spending money. And what they really meant was we budgeted for this, so it's not going to impact the budget, but there's still an economic impact.
Yeah.
And I realize for some people that rises to the level of a nit. To me, it rises to the level of being accountable for how we spend people's money. And so these ASRs need some work.
Okay.
And I'll take those up with the county administrator separately after the meeting. But I'm happy to also share that with any other commissioners that want to know exactly which ones I'm referring to.
Yeah. Any further comments?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Move for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. yours was approved, so.
Thank you for what you're doing.
And the only concern I have with yours, by the way, is knowing who actually certifies so that we could figure out who's going to be in court with us if there ever is an issue.
She will not be, well, I see what you mean. In the future, if there's ever an issue.
Right.
I got that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Each handler and dogs that has $1 million of insurance, and any organization you work with, and put on my request for an additional $1 million.
Yeah, it'd be great if those policies named the county as an additional insured, but maybe that can't be done. I don't know.
We went that route first.
Oh, did you?
It's not possible, but we did consult with our insurance company. In fact, one of the ladies that works there has her own dog, so they were very supportive of us using this program. It's used in a number of courthouses across the state.
Yeah. I didn't see you waving your arms. I figured we were probably good.
Give us just a minute here, Keith.
You're fine.
I'm free on the 25th too. All these knows the time.
Yeah, okay.
And the
Finish
location.
that up here.
Yeah.
This was my favorite.
And the record, all that.
All right, Keith, please.
Thank you. You recall that the commissioners asked staff to put together some information regarding the possibility of holding meetings in the evening on some regular schedule. The clerk polled all of her counterparts across the state, and we got some feedback from other counties that have amended their schedule to accommodate evening meetings and kind of get some feedback of what that looked like. Right now, there are only 3 counties that we're aware of, Asotin, Clark, and Mason County, that have evening meetings on a regularly scheduled basis. There are some counties that tried doing it in the evening. They found out their attendance, at least for those counties, did not dramatically change. In some cases, it even went down. So they went back to a meeting during the daytime. I'm sorry.
Some of these 3 went back?
No. Those 3 still have a monthly evening meeting.
Interesting that 2 of those are, at least 2, maybe 3, but Clark and Mason are home rule charter counties where they're part-time board of commissioners with a full-time executive.
Yeah.
Correct. But in communicating with those other counties, got an understanding of what their experience has been. There are some counties that will hold evening meetings when it's a special meeting of some kind where there's an agenda item that they feel like needs either a public hearing or needs greater public involvement, or they expect a large number of people to show up to testify or speak, and sometimes they will schedule both the regular board meeting and an evening meeting as well. But they, in just about every case, said that happened fairly rarely. In terms of overtime and security, we've consulted with the Sheriff's Office to get some information on what that might cost us to have additional personnel available. We recognize that we are a courthouse, and the courthouse needs to be secure, so we would have people at the screening desk out at the security shack, and then have deputies or corrections officers available here in the courthouse to provide whatever security is needed.
I think I recall from the last meeting, Sheriff Raymond saying that it wouldn't create any overtime, that he could do it out of budget.
Yeah, they could do that with their regularly scheduled personnel. The average, I think for a screener, I was quoted an hourly rate of $19.20 an hour, and for a armed security guard is $25.94 an hour. So assuming we had a 2 to 3 hour meeting at most, it's very inconsequential in terms of additional costs that would be incurred by the county for that kind of a function. We also took a look at maybe holding it at the Happel Center. There would be about a $450 room rental charge, plus whatever audiovisual equipment we would need to set up and either rent or provide ourselves. One of the biggest logistical problems in speaking with the clerk with having it outside of this building is that we're not set up for recording anywhere else like we are here. And so we would probably be looking at either acquiring or doing something with additional recording equipment. So my recommendation is if the board desires to hold meetings in the evening, we can have them here at this building in this room with our regularly hired or employed security staff that's already in place, and we have the recording equipment and so forth here. The only real issue that I see is in terms of changing it is matching the commissioner's agenda with the schedule for an evening meeting. We don't have a methodology yet to put those items in front of the public for which an evening meeting would be most conducive to input to the board. So let's just use as an example the syringe exchange program that we had a large number of people from the public arrive and speak to that a few weeks ago. That came up in the question of a timing of our regularly scheduled meeting, but if we wanted to hold a discussion on a topic that required more people to be here and the board felt like an evening meeting was appropriate to do that, we might have to table a decision until that such time as we had that evening meeting. So our agendas do not match up all the time with the timing of the board considering those agenda items. And you could have a meeting like today where it's just primarily a consent agenda scheduled for that time for the evening meeting, for which the public would not necessarily choose to come and participate. So it probably would require some additional coordination, staff time to promote, announce, encourage the public to attend a particular meeting if we were to do it at night. So I think you kind of have the facts in front of you. We can certainly schedule those counties that have considered it or have tried it, typically do it like once a quarter. Yeah. Some have done it once a month. I would recommend that if you want to do it, maybe once a quarter would be about as frequent as you'd want to do that. And then as soon as we could identify what issues the board would like to have considered at that meeting, make sure that that's properly noticed and available to the public to consider.
Well, the main thing that I've heard is our budget. People would like to sit in when we're discussing the budget. So that would be one of the main topics, is the budget in that period of time, which is in the fall, correct?
Yes.
So that would be one to where they can give their input.
Those are all day long for a week, though.
All day long in here with the departments, but not the public, correct? Or is the public?
It's open.
Yeah, but it's during the day.
Well, for a week. It's scheduled for a week long.
Yeah, I understand that, but you got to understand where I'm out there in the blocks. If it's daylight, they're working. And it's that way right now. It's pretty busy out there. There's no way the people can get in here right now. The water's coming on. We're trying to get water running, and everybody's behind.
That's primarily the purpose of those budget hearings. I mean, obviously we have engagement with the commissioners, but under the finance budget statutes for the state, the primary purpose of those budget hearings is for the public to come in and support, oppose, comment on the agency budgets that are being submitted.
Okay.
I will tell you, in the 3 years that I've been here, I think maybe one time we've had a member of the public come into one of those budget hearings. I know access and timing makes it difficult for people to come in. I don't know if
I would question how are we getting the word out that we're having them.
We have to post that notice in the newspaper.
In the Connell Graphic.
Yes.
That's the only.
And it's on our website as well.
And on the website.
Yeah.
I would suggest that maybe we start looking at social media more than just our website, because I noticed that when I post, like today we didn't really have anything on the agenda, but when I post on Facebook the needles are coming up, the room's full.
Right.
And it's just that simple little post I put out there on my Facebook page. And I don't contact the people individually. I just put it out there that we're talking about the needles again, and I couldn't believe the room was standing room only. We had to bring in extra chairs.
Right.
And that was not orchestrated. It wasn't. I did not call individuals, but people are pretty adamant about the needles in the Tri-Cities. We do not want to become Seattle, Portland, San Francisco type areas. So I think maybe social media is another means for us to have a Facebook page, possibly for the Commissioner's Facebook page. I'll continue to post on my Facebook page, but and I will let them know that we are having the budget hearings on those days, so maybe we'll get more involvement. But I've also heard from the public that they're very interested in having an evening meeting once in a while so they could attend. I've heard this from numerous people. Sure. And so we could give it a trial and error, see if it's going to work, if people will show up. So, my thoughts.
So, as I said in the past, I'm not opposed to evening meetings, day meetings. There are so many competing interests for time. I think the biggest concern I would have is that if we're going to do anything other than this Tuesday morning meeting, that we deconflict schedules. I mean, some of us are in Olympia working with the legislature this time of year every other week, and I don't want to find myself in a situation where one of the 20-plus boards or committees that I'm serving on has a meeting and I've got a competing meeting here, and then I have to start skipping stuff. But I think a quarterly evening meeting in the courthouse, probably a good idea. I think we ought to also consider the notion of not changing our weekly Tuesday morning, but maybe adding a quarterly evening meeting and making it a workshop meeting, not an action meeting, so that it's really focused on deliberation, discussion, public input.
You can't have public input in a workshop, though.
Okay, fair enough. We can work with labels. I mean, you don't have to have items on your agenda that are action items. They can be discussion items. So make it a regular meeting. Or you could do one on a quarterly basis. Let's say you did one on strategic planning and you made it a special meeting, which so long as you're in the counties, well, actually in that case you can go outside the county, see as long as you're still in the county or the two counties. So there are ways. I mean, it's a little bit more than semantics, but it's certainly doable. So I just throw that out as some options. But deconflicting the schedule is going to be key.
City of Pasco has their meetings, I think, Monday nights. Do you have a preference for what night of the week we were scheduled? Is Tuesday night the best night, or?
I would think, yeah, that would be fine with me.
I just really have to look ahead and see make sure that wouldn't, throughout the year
For your obligations to the boards and commissions. Yeah.
All right, well,
certainly keeping it on Tuesday is likely, I think, to have the fewest conflicts.
I have to agree with
doesn't
agree
mean
with
that there
that.
won't be some, but
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays are really tough, I know, for a lot of our meetings.
I think maybe it'd be good for each of us to have time to go look at our schedules and Keith give you some input on what day of the week works best.
Yeah.
There's a seasonal aspect to it, like I said, with LS, the Legislative Steering Committee in Wasac also.
Yeah. Well, if I might suggest, then we'll put together a proposed calendar for those quarterly meetings for the remainder of this year and let each commissioner look at their schedule to see if that works and adjust accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you. No official action on this, but just to let you know, I'm meeting with the BCES board. They are beginning a strategic planning process. We've hired a consultant to help navigate that with all of the players at CCOM. That's not particularly time intensive, but it's something that we supported when it was initially requested last year, that as we got the Consolidated Dispatch Center up and running, wanted to kind of look at the next horizon and where we're going as an organization and what improvements need to be made or planning for the future needs to happen. And so I'm participating with representatives from the Sheriff's Office in that strategic planning process. And then next week, after a regular meeting, or actually Wednesday through Friday of next week, I'll be in Leavenworth at the County Administrator's annual meeting for 3 days.
I'll be in Olympia for Crab Board.
When is that?
The 24th through the 26th. That's next Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah, so that's depending on what the legislature does, I think they'll still be going, so I'll be at the Steering Committee.
That's all I had today, Commissioner.
Okay. One more spot for public comment. Anybody? Seeing none. Anything else, Commissioners?
Just an observation from my most recent time in Olympia. My understanding is that if you recall the Janus decision from the Supreme Court regarding compulsory membership in union activities, I apologize, I don't recall the bill number now, but there was a bill on the Senate floor promoted by the Senate Democrats. The minority leader, Senator Schessler from our county, was opposing it, and as I understand it, it resulted in division, which necessitates an individual count of votes on the floor, and it apparently became quite contentious. There was also an awareness apparently within the Senate that the bill submitted by Representative Jenkins but opposed by Senator Schessler, having to do with the Pasco Public Facilities District desiring to have a special designation for the city of Pasco, one that would not apply anywhere else in the state. It was a bill specifically addressing the city of Pasco, but would allow them taxing authority to build large public facilities. You still have to go to a public vote, but it's an authority that in the rest of the state is reserved at the county level. And so in what was described as a late-night retaliatory move after the session, the Democrats pulled the bill for the Pasco PFD from the hopper, if you will. And when you pull a bill, in that case, in that instance, it doesn't mean that you're pulling it and setting it aside. It actually means you're pulling it forward for consideration. And I understand it got pulled forward and either has passed or is likely to pass. It was after hours, and I haven't heard the final to it. But it sounds like it's out-and-out retaliatory move between two political parties, and the result is the bill that was not going anywhere is probably likely now to get passed, which could lead to a ballot measure in Pasco for a water park with an attendant increase in sales tax, which last time I checked on it had no provision for exempting any ag or farm equipment purchases. So more to follow when I can get it, but details are not all forthcoming just yet.
Was I incorrect in the thinking that that bill was for a water park only?
It was it was written and tailored toward a water park. It went through so many iterations that, candidly, I'd have to go back and look at the latest language to see if being specific to a water park was still in there. I think you're correct, and I think it is. But
Well, I
couldn't
was
guarantee-
thinking the law read that the PFD couldn't tax for a water park, and that's what they're trying to change. But
Well, it had to do as much as anything with the authority for a city-level PFD to do a regional facility. Regional facilities are typically reserved to counties under the statute, which, again, my understanding. So I heard at least one person raise the question, how can it be good state policy if it addresses only one city? And so, short of taking a position pro or con, because I've tried not to get directly into the city's business and put the county at odds with the city, I don't think that's what we want at all. So I'll leave it for the city to speak in more detail. But it was, I bring it up mostly because it was a really, in all the years that I've been over there as a private citizen, as a county commissioner, this was about as blatant a payback as I can recall. They didn't even attempt to hide it.
And I'd like to just bring up something that's pretty, well, it's been talked about a lot here, and that's about the sanctuary status of our state. And according to the latest map on sanctuary cities, counties, and states, and I don't know what, and maybe Sheriff Raymond can help us out here as what justifies us as being a sanctuary county, but we are listed as one here, and with this threat, and I want to be proactive and not reactive, of our President Trump relocating these refugees into sanctuary cities and counties. He specifically said cities, but Washington State looks like it has every county listed here. I want to know what we could possibly do to assure that we are not a sanctuary county, and I have proposed to Keith that we write a resolution, but what does that involve? And I have heard, and I don't know this factual, I'd like to ask, is that we've got to work with ICE and on detainees, and that is one of the things that you and I talked about, Keith, is the fact that we have to pay for their residence in our jail until ICE comes and picks them up. And is that not true, Sheriff? Do they reimburse us?
Yeah, it's to the tune of about $40,000 a year. But they have recently submitted a contract to us, for lack of better words, asking to give them more access to people's
records,
and we're not citing those. So we're just essentially going to lose that $40,000. But make no mistake here, when people come into the Franklin County Jail, they come in because they committed a criminal act in the state of Washington.
Right.
Okay? And they're held in custody under the position. ICE has the ability to look on all of our public records, just like anybody, and go, oh, that person is whatever with their federal immigration status. Would you put a hold on them? Is what they use, the word that was used. But it's not a hold. What it is a courtesy call that says, hey, ICE, this guy's going out the back door of the Franklin County Sheriff's Corrections Center on this day at this time. So if you have some business you want with that person, they show up. And that happens routinely, and I'm not going to change that practice.
And you're working with ICE then? You're working with them?
ICE is immigration, customs enforcement, federal law enforcement. Right, and we're not a sanctuary county.
I don't know why we're listening.
A lot of that information that you're talking about is just MSU made crap up. There's a lot of anything to do with that.
So would you suggest that we put together a resolution stating the fact that we are not a sanctuary county and that we abide by the laws of the state of Washington and the federal government?
We've already done that.
I mean, but the commissioners.
We can't force people to listen with clear ears. We've done that. We said, look,
Okay.
We're not a sanctuary county. We're going to cooperate with ICE. All those issues, and we've said it over and over. But what you're talking about specifically is you're talking about the state that's now trying to say that they're going to be a sanctuary state.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're showing opposition to that by signing a resolution.
Other than, boldly saying you want to be a part of that in some form or fashion, I don't know how to get around that.
I would like to boldly state that we're not participating with this ludicrousy that we're getting from the west side. And I don't know how the other commissioners feel about this, but I would like to make a statement, and I think we would have the rest of the counties on the east side joining us.
And, how y'all do that is certain. If you're all decisions that we will continue to work with ICE when they want to detain people on federal violations, however they choose to move them. We won't interfere with that. We're not going to lock them out of jail when they come to get people or any of those type of things unless there's a law. We are complying with the court orders and rules that are coming down, and that's what we'll keep doing. We'll see what happens in the long run with the courts. But as of right now, ICE comes and goes as they need in order to do their job. We're not interfering with it.
So I asked my other commissioners if you'd join me in a resolution that Keith could draw up that we could plainly state this, that we are abiding by the laws of the state of Washington and the federal government, and with our sheriff and with ICE stated clearly in a resolution, and make a statement here.
So I think we've already taken oaths to uphold and defend the laws of the ordinances, which are laws of Franklin County, the state of Washington. And, if we do a resolution on this, there's a whole bunch of other things that Franklin County is not. And I'm not inclined to be doing resolutions to tell people we're not this, we're not this, we're not this. You don't become a sanctuary county unless the legislative authority of the county takes action. And this county has not done that. Now, if we want to put out a statement saying that Franklin County has not taken any action to become a sanctuary county nor to support a commissioner's intent to, I'm fine with that. But I would stop short of a resolution, because then the next time somebody says, well, you're this, well, do a resolution to prove you're not. And I understand the desire to make a strong point, but I also know, perhaps in part from this latest observation at the state legislature, that if you go out and beat the drum and wave the flag enough in front of the legislature, that adds fuel to the fire sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily do a lot to calm their desire to make the whole state a sanctuary county. I'm not sure, it's probably a detailed legal question beyond me, but if we were to stir up the current powers that be that control both chambers in the legislature and the governor's mansion, and they decided that they wanted to demonstrate that, yes, we are a sanctuary state, I'm not sure that we could get ourselves out from under that. So I'm not sure that we serve our best interest to beat that drum too loudly. And I do think that a respectful statement acknowledging that this website says we're sanctuary county and we're not, I would have to stop short of a resolution.
Okay.
Commissioner Cook, do you have any?
I don't. I have to agree with Brad. The more you mix a hornet's nest, sometimes is.
We are in a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
If we don't stand, who's going to stand? Are we going to just let them run over us?
No.
I think the whole east side will stand with us. And this is where we've come into this whole aspect of us creating our own state here. Now, are you for that? I don't know. I don't know how you all stand on that, but I'm sick and tired of the west side running roughshod over eastern Washington, in particular, us. And I am not happy with the fact of all these new taxes they're going to impose on us. And the fact that they've declared us a sanctuary county. We're not a sanctuary county. You just heard it from our sheriff. They're trying to impose their will on gun legislation that our sheriff said he will not enforce, and we stood with him on a resolution on that. I don't think we're stirring the nest. I think we're standing for principle. And if we don't stand for principle, then we can't really argue the fact when they take it away from us, take away our gun rights, make us a sanctuary county, start busing people in here from the immigrants that are coming here illegally, we won't have any say then. Unless we say now, we better have our voices heard as early as possible.
I have one more item that, as a chairman, I got a letter from Department of Commerce regarding the Associate Development Organizations, the ADOs, that comes through Commerce. We need a consensus that TRIDEC has done it for years. I had gone back in the minutes and for, I guess I can't even go back far enough to see how long. And I called Carl this morning, and it helps that TRIDEC a lot with that designation. So what I need is something to put in the minutes to send with this designation. I don't remember seeing one for the last couple of years. So,
yeah, Mr. Chairman, unless there is, well, even if there is an urgency to a response, I think this is something we ought to have the opportunity to maybe speak with Keith about individually, just so that each of the commissioners can express any concerns or desires going forth. If we want to see any kind of adjustment in the relationship with TRIDEC, the time to do it is at renewal time. And so I think it's a missed opportunity if we don't at least take this up next week and give folks an opportunity to provide some collective input to Keith that he can maybe share on a professional level with TRIDEC. I don't want to flag that I think there's major concerns, but this is the time if we have concerns to address them.
okay. Nothing else?
Well, I'd like to ask Matt how the bridge is going on 68. Any new report?
Yeah, probably as you've seen, the girders were in place last week. Now once the girders are in place, they got well ties between them. That goes on. They also have what they call diaphragms, intermediate diaphragms that get pulled that they need to pour, which occurs underneath the girders. Kind of ties everything together so everything moves as one. So that process is going on as we speak. And then after that, really, that's where we kind of start getting a good head of steam once we get those last pours done. Now, there is a concrete slab that will be poured on both sides of the bridge itself, so that will be the last kind of portion of the road section of it, and then, of course, the guardrail. So we really are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and things, should continue to move. But as I keep telling everybody, don't be surprised if you don't see a lot happening, because right now what is happening is it's a pretty good little effort to actually put forms for concrete underneath that bridge structure, especially in that concrete wasteway. We all know how there's a pretty good elevation difference there. So, there are things that are going on, and we're looking pretty good. So, definitely on schedule. Hope to be done ahead of schedule is what we're hoping for now.
Yeah.
So.
What about Glade Road and the slowdown to 45? When's that scheduled to take place, and have you got signs located for that?
I'm going to be very frank with the board. Is we started some of it on 68, that section between Court and Argent, and what we realized with one of the phone calls that our clerk received, it doesn't do us any good to go out there and start it and not be able to finish it. So we're going to make sure that on the rest of the roads that before we make that transition, that we have the ability to get it completely done, as opposed to half of it and then coming back the next week to finish it. So it just creates confusion, and certainly Glade is one that we can't afford to create any. So it's a process. We do have a lot of roads that we did change this time around. So, but Glade is one that specifically that we're going to make sure that once we get started, we have the ability to complete it in the same day. So,
And on Glade, are you also maybe looking at, since we already have an all-weather road to self-landing, is putting those turn lanes in? Have we got any planning for that? Because what we have down here by the potato processing plant is what we need there, and then they can stay at 60 because there's avenues there for trucks to get off to turn or to come on and get up to speed. And if we have that amp room already with an all-weather road, I think we could remedy this and keep the speed limit at 55.
I agree with you. I mean, that's something that we in our office agree, and as I mentioned last week, it's just unfortunate it wasn't considered when that section of road was built. I think, now 15 years ago, probably.
Well, the growth is growing faster than you perceived, and it is by the train yard there. I mean, there's just the opportunity for growth is big right there because of the opportunity of getting products in and out. So,
well, yeah, especially that being being zoned industrial, it just some of these things that we kind of go back are a little bit baffling to me why they weren't done at the time, but certainly that is something we're looking at, and we're going to be pursuing every bit of federal grant money, as much money as we can bring back to our county. We're going to be doing it, and that's certainly a project that we're looking at. So
fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the board? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.